For years, we've all heard about the shadow war being waged across the Middle East. Well, the shadows are gone. We're going to break down what's happening right now, this sudden, direct, and incredibly dangerous military escalation between Iran, Israel, and the United States. Let's get into how this whole thing just burst right out into the open.
And just in case there was any doubt about how serious this is the official word from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. I mean, there's no room for interpretation there. This is a huge shift, moving away from proxy fights to direct, open warfare.
So what happened? How do we get here so fast? Well, a conflict that's been simmering for a long time just completely boiled over. We're talking about a direct military exchange, with the US and Israel launching these coordinated attacks on Iran, and Tehran, well, they fired back almost instantly.
The real flashpoint was Saturday, February 28th. You're gonna want to remember that date. It's the moment this whole conflict tipped over into a brand new and frankly very unpredictable phase. Coordinated airstrikes hit deep inside Iran, and the response was, you guessed it, just as fast and just as widespread.
Okay, first, let's break down that initial offensive. You know, this wasn't some limited surgical strike. No, this was a broad, coordinated attack aimed right at the heart of Iran's military and its government infrastructure.
And when you look at these targets, you can really see how strategic this was. We're not talking about random locations. We're talking about government buildings in the capital, Tehran, a huge military complex at Parchin, and the absolute hub of their ballistic missile program in Isfahan. The goal seems pretty clear. They were trying to cripple Iran's ability to command its forces and to fight back.
But this is the tragic reality of war, isn't it? The lines always get blurred. According to reports from Iranian state media, a strike in the southern city of Manab actually hit an elementary school. 51 people, mostly children, were killed. It's just a devastating, gut-wrenching reminder of the real human cost that comes with all of this.
So, as they promised they would, Iran's response wasn't just contained inside its own borders. Tehran hit back with this massive wave of missiles and drones, and they weren't just targeting Israel. They went after U.S. military assets and American allies right across the Middle East.
And this map really just shows you the sheer scope of that response. You have sustained attacks on Tel Aviv and Haifa in Israel, but then look, they're also hitting the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters over in Bahrain. The Ali Al Salem Air Base in Kuwait got targeted. The attacks stretched all the way to Qatar, the UAE, and Iraq. It's a clear demonstration of Iran's reach across the entire region.
And here we go again, another tragic story about the consequences for civilians. Over in the UAE, one person was killed. And they weren't even hit by the missile itself, but by the falling debris after that missile was intercepted. It just shows you that even a successful defense is incredibly risky in a crowded area.
Which brings us to the tech at the center of all this. Because this fight isn't just about land or influence, it's also a really high-stakes duel. A showdown between some of the most advanced offensive weapons and defensive systems on the entire planet.
So the star of the show here, if you can call it that, is the ballistic missile. These things are just incredible feats of engineering. They fly in this high arc, and they can reach hypersonic speeds. We're talking more than 5 times the speed of sound. That combination of speed and trajectory gives defense systems a terrifyingly small window to do anything about it. And that really sets up this amazing technological matchup. So on one side, you've got Iran's absolutely massive missile arsenal. But on the other, you have Israel's multi-layered shield. It starts with the famous Iron Dome for short-range stuff. Then there's David's Sling for medium-range missiles. And for the really big, fast ones, those ballistic missiles, they have the Arrow system, all backed up by American THAAD batteries. It's a real-time battle of offense versus defense.
All right, so now let's zoom out a bit and look at the bigger strategic picture. Because Iran's response, it didn't just happen in a vacuum. You really have to understand the U.S. military landscape that surrounds the entire country to get what's going on.
And this number? Well, it pretty much says it all. There are roughly 45,000 American soldiers stationed across the Middle East right now. That huge presence is a major factor in the strategic thinking for every single country in the region, but especially for Iran.
And if you look at this list, you can see exactly why Iran's retaliation was so widespread. With permanent U.S. bases in Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, the UAE, and all these other places, Iran basically sees the entire region as one big chessboard. From Tehran's point of view, that American presence is both a threat and a whole constellation of potential targets.
And if that wasn't enough, all of this is happening during a historic U.S. military buildup in the area.
We're talking 2 full carrier strike groups. That's 2 aircraft carriers, the USS Gerald R. Ford and the USS Abraham Lincoln, plus their entire escort fleets of cruisers and destroyers. That is an unbelievable amount of naval and air power packed into one region.
So, we are in completely uncharted territory here. The first direct shots between these countries have been fired. All those long-held red lines we've heard about for years, they've been crossed by everyone. So the huge question that's just hanging over the entire world right now is, what happens next?